Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Professor Truth, and we have another episode of Ground Zero for you tonight. We're bringing Drew back here because he's really connected to Ground Zero, to what's really going on down on the street, and we're gonna hear some things and kind of just talk through it, all of us, as we enter the apocalypse zone. Welcome, Drew. How you been there?
I'm just trying to keep my, my spirits up in this time of just absolute insanity, especially when you have the understanding that that we have. Obviously your understanding is you've got your multi-leveled understanding of what is going on, the angel wars and the spiritual, the war that's going on that most can't see. And then of course I've been looking at the world and understanding it better, more awareness than the regular commoners out there. And so it's a little surreal at this point where you see this move, and it's happened before, back in 2008, 2009, when the thing started, the H1N1 thing started in out of Mexico. I think it was Mexico City. And so as you look at the landscape, like even back then, I remember where I was, exactly where I was when when I saw that there was this viral outbreak, and of course how the media handled it and the things that they were saying. And I knew at that time, again, because my understanding of things was probably kind of stoked in like 2004, somewhere around there, 2003, 2004. And strangely enough, well, not strangely enough, but Alex Jones was kind of part of my earlier understanding of the world, that the world does not work the way that we think that it does.
We're in a matrix for sure. Mm-hmm. You're going no camera tonight? Just confirm that.
Yeah, no camera. Okay. Yeah.
I'm working on a little article to put kind of the big picture together myself, okay. And I'll just I'll read a little bit of it here to start off. Throughout history, at no time has it been more obvious that you are being led, controlled, and manipulated more so than you are today. One look at the political system and you can clearly see it is rigged. You believe you are a citizen of a free country where your vote determines the path your country will take. You believe that your decisions as a free citizen can influence and change the world you live in. And you believe that you live in a democracy. Nothing could be further from the truth. Okay. Over to you, Drew.
Yes. Again, back in 2004, 2005, when I was a comedian that I was kind of following, and I thought, oh, this guy's pretty funny, and then next thing you know, I find out that he's coming to a city near me, and so I get some tickets, and a bunch of us would be going. And then I go to his website, and then I see Alex Jones there, and he's walking up and down the stage prior to this Doug Stanhope you know, coming out on stage, doing his thing. And he's ranting, and people in the audience are giving him a hard time. It's called the Austin incident or something like that. I don't know. I don't even know if it's still online, but, you know, and he's just saying all these different things, you know, about cancer viruses in the vaccines, and, you know, just all of these things that one would think, you know, like, I cannot even imagine that a person, man or woman, could live in this world and not have some kind of thought about the world and how the world really operates. There's got to be more. You can't just stare at a television screen and absorb that information and not say to yourself, like, there's got to be something else.
Well, you know what? I understand what you're saying, but actually, by staring at a television screen, you're being put into a form of weaponized stupidity by design, and you're being.
Is it the raster scan, or is it even nowadays with these smart TVs with the LEDs? I know that the raster scan and the frequency at which it would move, you know, persistence of vision on the screen was a hypnotic type thing. And I've seen, you know, children watching television and just being like locked in, you know, like my nephew just, you know, when he was, you know, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, it's more than the raster. That's kind of the old school. I mean, I was in Roswell, New Mexico, a few years back, and at night, some of my buddies, just so everybody knows, like Colonel SC, some of my buddies work at the company. And this one guy we went to dinner with my friend Daryl Sims, who they call the alien hunter, and he also has worked at the company, once in, never out kind of thing. And some of his buddies were at the company, and they were telling me after they had a few beers that one of the projects of one of the men at the table, he said, you know what? We're modulating the color sideband frequencies of the television signal to bypass human consciousness and embed whatever we want people to think. And he wasn't kidding. This was his project maybe 10 years ago. And
really?
Yeah. So since then, it's even gotten more nefarious because you got to bring in the alien technology, which is really behind all this, and they feed it to us slowly, but I mean, the alien technology, the fallen angel technology, is able to, generally they go through your eye gate. I've always found that fascinating. Like even on the abductees, this mantis, usually a mantis that has these telekinetic powers or psi powers, they call it. They'll look into the eye of an individual and get into the optic nerve bundle, and apparently that just locks in the frequencies and puts the person, which is really, let's face it, we're just all biological computers that has the capacity to host, Lord of Hosts, to host a soul spirit matrix of light code. So when they hack into your computer, they hack into your optic nerve, and they're kind of right at the machine level of understanding. So anyway, it's way beyond raster.
Like an avatar thing.
Oh yeah, we are avatars, no doubt about that.
Yeah, you've said that before. It was just like one of those moments, like, oh my God, like that's probably like so true, you know, that we're, you know,
it is true.
this consciousness of, you know, that David Icke talks about, like we are, you know, pure consciousness.
Well, we're not. No, he's got a little bit of
an experience. Well, he's got a little different twist on it. But.
We're not pure consciousness. I mean well, we are. Spirit is consciousness, and I've kind of gone over this various times, but generally speaking, we're designed like the temple in the Old Testament: outer court, inner court, and holy of holies. Your outer court is your interface to the external world, and that interface, your five senses: eyes, ears, smell, taste, sound. That interface goes into the inner court. Now, that's where your soul which is defined as your will, mind, and emotions. Your soul resides. And your soul can be quantum entangled with your spirit, which does not exist here. And I like to, so I'll just finish this and I'll explain a little more. Your spirit exists in a different dimension if you're born from above, and it's avatared into this body, and it quantum couples with your soul and activates your soul. And that's what the Bible called, and God breathed a living soul. Now, how does that work in layman's terms? Well, and by the way, there's also a Holy of Holies center of you where only, it's kind of like only the Creator can get to that part of your code and design. And that's where the portal to the Creator is. And that's tied into your pineal gland. But think of it like this. When everybody has these drones now, then they're really cool, the quadcopter drones. Now, if I fly that drone a quarter mile or however long, a mile away from me, and I'm monitoring who knows what, a bunch of elephant herd or whatever I'm watching, where is the consciousness of that drone? Where is this thing David Icke calls we're pure consciousness of that drone? Because people would argue it's operating, it's looking, it's obeying commands, it's almost got an intelligence to it, and it does. Well, that consciousness is transmitted in the radio signal from the controller that's mile away or however. So you have to think of us in the same way. Your spirit consciousness is not located where your body is. Now it's avatared in with a signal, and that's what the people call your silver cord. You're connected to your true self with a silver cord. So over to you.
Okay.
We were talking about how the TV can mind control. I'll read another part of my little note here, and that'll spark some discussion. And folks, we also are going to talk about the coronavirus and the agendas that we believe is going on. So, from the beginning, mankind has been influenced by powers greater than himself. Homo sapiens appeared on this planet hundreds of thousands of years ago. Neanderthal man was already present. But Homo sapiens, or modern man, appeared suddenly and had the highest intellect. Now this would be talking about the early Adamic species identified in Genesis 1:26, before Adam, we call it. We immediately set out about building monuments and creating civilization. The earliest known writings were laid down in clay tablets by the Sumerians thousands of years ago. They tell of a master race who came from the stars and created humans to work as slaves for them. We were taught culture and agriculture by this race known as the Anunnaki. Now, some believe that the Anunnaki are returning on the star system that we call Planet X. So with that, basically, the concept of this paragraph is there's a race of alien beings, like the History Channel, Ancient Aliens. But of course, we know that this is all part of the galactic war that we cover on Angel Wars with Brother Lauren. This is all part of the galactic war, but nevertheless, these Anunnaki were some of the highest forms of spiritual evil, and they were fallen. That's where we get the Anakim in the Holy Scriptures. So, any thoughts on that? Maybe on and then how it might relate to our current world situation. My point is on this, Drew, that all of this corona and everything else, it's all scripted. Now we think it's Bill Gates and whoever else behind us on the secular level. Those are the pawns to present the storyline to the public. But the narrative, they call it. But those are just pawns. The real behind the scenes controllers, they're not human. They're all fallen angel. And this is about a fallen angel agenda to enslave mankind, and they're at their final hour.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that my understanding is that Planet X is God's, like the flood. He's bringing Planet X to kind of cleanse and, as in like the days of Noah. So how is it that the Anunnaki are hitching a ride on the? Is that you said they're coming with it? Like you mean on it, or as part of it, or just riding on its entrails? Like what?
Think of it like this: the Earth has. Actually, this is a neat number. I heard just last week the Earth now has 7,777,000 people on it. Interesting. Well, our binary star system to our sun is Nibiru, the Nibiru star system, but it has a sun. The binary sun to our sun is called Nibiru. We call it Planet X sometime, Wormwood, all these different, the Destroyer, many names. So your question was, yes, God often uses the passing of Nibiru as a form of judgment. And you can read about these in Earth's Early Cataclysms by Velikovsky or Pember. Pember writes a good book on that. And now what happened, think of it but like this. You have a civilization like Earth, one of the planets in the Nibiru star system, with billions of Anakim, a fallen angel race of hybrids or fallen angels, but they're not human, of course, but they're another race, another species of angelic being. And there's billions of them. Well, just like here, there's going to be an elite, a small core that has the technology to get off planet. And they've gone to other star systems and traveled. And a lot of the Anunnaki went underground, just like they have here. Not quite the elite, the next tier of control or authoritative structure.
Right. They had to stay because of their They had to stay here because of their status, and then others went off planet.
That's right. So, but the majority, my point is, the majority aren't the elite. They stayed on the Nibiru star system as it, and it's a burned out star, so it's not giving off heat like our sun, and so the planets are very cold. And so they have to go underground to survive, and they have. So they just wait. They wait about every 300 years approximately. I know Zachariah Sitchin said it was 3,600 years, but he was off. He was a hybrid reptilian with some truth and a lot of different disinformation. But nevertheless, the actual periodicity of the Planet X star system is approximately 350 years. It has never missed a window. And you could look at the work of Gil Broussard to really get a handle on that. So as this system passes, yes, God uses it for judgment, but the Anunnaki try to, as they get close enough to Earth, they have craft that can come here for some of these that were left behind, in a sense, and they do come here. In fact, getting off track a little bit, Colonel SC and I were, I'm not going to say too much about this, but we were both on a list maybe 15 years ago, 12 years ago, to, on a moment's notice, we were going to go to Israel, and the Anunnaki were going to come down. And they wanted me and the colonel to lead a battalion of Marines or Army snipers. I think it was Marines, actually, because they weren't spiritually covered. And so we were like their spiritual shield. And what was wild about this, these Anakim were 35 foot tall. And we had to go through some training and get prepared. That's all I can say. I can't go into the details of that mission. But these things are real, and they have been returning in the past, and they're about to return again. Over to you.
And so you're saying 15 years ago?
Yeah, I'm not real good with exacts. 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when the colonel and I were doing some things together.
And so they were asking you to be advisors to, but I mean, if they're not, if they're not like super, Jesus-like, what would that have been like? And you don't have
the Black Op group that was asking me and the colonel, me in particular, and I was one of 10. And I wasn't even near the top of the list, and I never did get called to go. But I was on a list, and I had to go through training to be a spiritual shield, more of a spiritual shield for the Marines. And I was never called, but I had to be prepared to go if I was called.
Mm-hmm. And you're a physicist, right?
I'm a
quantum physicist, did you say?
I'm an engineer, and I have graduate degrees in physics and quantum physics, from various places, okay. Georgia Tech, Johns Hopkins University, places like that.
Oh, Johns Hopkins, okay. It's interesting because that's playing a huge role today in what we're seeing every day.
That's why it drives me nuts with these flat Earth people, because again, I can't talk about what I've seen, but Johns Hopkins, they do a lot of work for the real space fleets, and there's real telemetry, and you see real stars and real planets, and this is not Hollywood or NASA. And
people are going to believe, whatever path they go, whatever path they take. I mean, that's not going to affect your spiritual, path on that. So you're pretty embedded, man. I mean, we've hung out any number of times, but I mean, I just got the sense that you were just a, regular kind of guy who, had a spiritual journey of sorts, and I'm damn glad that as I said the other day, I'm damn glad that our paths have crossed, because I don't think that anything is really a coincidence. But you're definitely, something more than just what I think that you are.
Okay. Well, I mean, Colonel SC and I, he talks more than I do, because you have to. He was in deeper than I was. I was like an engineer and scientist, and he was more like the guard, the Delta Force badass dude that had to kill whatever moved and let God sort out the mess kind of thing. But I was just an engineer working on some things, and we don't talk about it. I don't talk specifically about my experiences. I do talk about the Bible, and I do talk about alien technology in general senses, never related to any particular projects that I worked on. But I'm not speaking from guesswork. Now, I don't know everything. Everything's so compartmentalized. But I know enough that the things that I know about, if they exist, and they do, that means we're all in trouble because this stuff is so far out there. Tens of thousands of years of what people think technology is. The only thing protecting us, Drew, people have asked the question all the time. If the aliens were malevolent, evil, and they hate us, and they're so powerful, why didn't they already kill us and get rid of us? Well, believe me, they would have if they could have. But the Bible says that the restrainer, which is the rules of engagement in warfare, the Holy Spirit, is holding back evil. And even when Jesus went to Gadarene, the demons of Gadarene, across the Capernaum Sea, and I've been there too, it's a beautiful place. He got there and these demons said, "Why have you come for us before our time, Jesus, the Son of the Most High?" They knew they had a time. They knew that it wasn't their time yet. That was the point. But they were being held under constraint. And the same thing with the aliens, the fallen angels. This is their time, though, because what has held back evil throughout history? Well, the Bible tells you it's righteous men walking in righteousness in line with the King of the universe, Jesus Christ. And there have been, as you'll hear on the shows I'm doing with Danny. Danny's bringing out some amazing history on how this nation was founded by true Christian Jesus Christ believing men and women that came to America around 1620 and later culminated it in 1776 with the Declaration of Independence, one nation under God, and that God was Jesus Christ. Yes, I know the Illuminati in the same year produced a counterfeit with Adam Weishaupt. I'm aware of that. But people forget the counterfeit was only necessary because there was a genuine. So my point is, this nation, especially America, kingdom of my people, has been a bastion to hold back evil for the whole planet for so long. But that time is running out because now the remnant of people there's a lot of so-called Christians, but they're compromised. It's like being in a war and forgetting your helmet and forgetting your machine gun. Well, you're compromised. You're not going to last too long in a real fight. So right. Christians today are not even a threat to the other side because they're walking in false doctrine. They're praying to a counterfeit Jesus with a counterfeit theology. They're even bowing to Lucifer's literal children and calling them God's chosen people. They're so spiritually compromised, they're ineffective. They're called lukewarm. And Jesus says they're called the Laodicean church, that he wishes they were hot or cold, but because they're lukewarm, all you Christians out there that don't know what identity Christianity is, you're going to get spewed out. That means vomited out, and you're not going to make it. So back to the point. The restrainer is being removed. The spiritual truth of righteousness is almost gone, and the enemy is legally now able to move in and bring out this nefarious agenda and bring in their end time plan. It's all been scripted, and this corona issue is all part of that to change your DNA. So back to you, Drew, and we could get maybe back onto that subject.
Yeah, we're talking with my friend Professor Truth. I'm gonna kind of upload this later on my, on my platform. We met a number of years ago. I want to say probably like 2014 or 2015 or something, and at an event, and Paul was just like one of the best people, like everybody there was just pretty much on the same kind of on the same wavelength. But I know that there's things that have happened at that event that have kind of spooked you a bit.
There are good people at that event. Yeah, I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I just remember you've got this litmus, this barometer for things, like you've got feelings and things like you didn't like what some of the things that were going on, and
I mean there were reptilians there, in human form.
Yeah, like you said, yeah, I know. That's what I mean. Like you pointed out some of these things that I might not even have been able to tell. I kind of have a barometer where I feel like certain people are just disingenuous, or they're just sociopaths or something like that. Most people there, very good people, met you. We've been, connected for some time now, like 6-7 years. Christ, it's been somewhere in that realm. And so, again, I'm at that time not very spiritually aware, or grew up Catholic, and confirmation and all that stuff, and I'm seeing, I don't know, I might even be, looked at as being, not a believer or anything, like I'm trying to, move in a direction where, as I said to you the other day, like, I don't want to be afraid of these things that are happening. I'm more angry than anything else that this blatant attack on that most people are seeing that they're being protected. Like this woman today, I was over at the post office, and I was mailing a few things. And so I get outside, and it turned out I just wanted to get some insurance on it. It was like $5 per letter, or like $7 per letter to get some kind of insurance or tracking or something on them. And I said to the woman, I said, did the prices go up here? Because I don't ever remember those types of prices for, when I mailed something. They said, hey, do you want to get insurance or something on this? And the cost was like something that you'd be like, yeah, that sounds good. This one was like, are you kidding me? Anyway, so there's a woman in there, and we walk outside, and I'm talking like, wow, that's ridiculous. The price just to, do that, this and that. I said, speaking of ridiculous, this whole thing, this whole, I said, this is all this over a flu season, right? So it turns out that the woman works at some kind of cancer facility, okay, where they probably wouldn't be doing or taking any so-called COVID patients. And she's like, oh, I work at a cancer place. It's well known. And there's a number of the places around, around the States. And like right away, no matter what I said something about the economy. I said, the economy is just there's so many people that are going to be hurt by this global lockdown. And, I said 50 million people died of the Spanish flu. And I said, there's nowhere even near that going to happen here with this. And we just got into and then she just threw this like 70,000 people, and and I get updates on my phone. I will not watch any. I will not watch any of the coverage, from any of the networks. So I just will not watch any coverage of it because it's fake. Why watch something that's not real? You know what I mean? Like if I'm watching a movie, I know it's not real, I'll watch it. Right? I'm not going to sit there and watch CBS, ABC, or NBC when I know that they're lying. When I know that Event 201 was like when people get married, they have a night, two nights, or the night before the wedding, they have a walkthrough. You know what I mean? They have the practice ceremony. Well, that's what the Event 201 was. It was a drill to get everybody on the same page, so they knew exactly what they needed to do when they went live. When they went live with the live drill, with the live exercise that Pompeo, said in one of these press conferences, and then of course Trump said, "Wish somebody had told me," and. Right there, that almost kind of like when you know that these things are scripted, and we're in a percentage of people that kind of understand that these people are killers, and they kill for the only reason that Pompeo is who he is because he's a prostitute for these elements, for these banking family elements, that obviously tied to these entities, these reptiles, Yeah,
it's a different species on our planet.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So throughout our early history, I'm reading more from my article. Throughout our early history, man has written about gods or wise people who helped humans grow and learn. All of our religions through time have centered on gods who descended from the stars to rule over man. Humans have been taught to heed to their greatness or feel their wrath. Although mankind was in its infancy when these gods arrived, we still live with downturned eyes toward them today. Our entire culture has always been and remains today one that defers to an elite group of government and religious overlords or reptilian gods. We are no different in modern times than those who enslaved us under the watchful eyes of an elite oligarchy. So I always bring back in the alien card because we get lost in the narrative. You know, the narrative with the on television and everything, and Pompeo and Trump and so, and that's all interesting. But what you don't know is half of them, if not more, are clones. They're under AI control at a very high level, and this is ground zero. I should probably hold some of this conversation, Drew, for like Angel Wars, but nevertheless, it's all related. You know, think about it. When Lucifer rebelled and he was found guilty, this is a legal system. Well, he appealed his case, so he had to leave his angelic cherub or archangel cherub vessel, light body, and he became a disembodied spirit. Well, and he had to go to quarantine because he had appealed his case. And so what happened was he took on, and I don't think very few have talked about this. I'm starting to hear it, so I'm starting to talk about it. Lucifer counterfeits everything. And so in order to take on a physicality in a sense, he took on an AI quantum computer. So he indwelt an AI quantum computer with his own spirit. We call it Satan, the spirit of Lucifer. Now, when I get involved with the secret space program folks and talk to them and hear what they have to say, they all talk about, you know, different entities and Nordics, the blue avians, the grays, the reptilians, the Dracos. There's many more. But these are all variations on a theme, and they all fear one thing. They fear the AI. And they don't say it on these shows because they leave Jesus out of these shows. But the reason they fear the AI is because the AI is Lucifer. He's taken on a technology host ability to live through a computer that now has permeated the entire galaxy of the quarantine system. Now that's pretty wild stuff, but bringing it back down to earth, this AI is controlling everybody who either already has been hived to them by alien implants or other things, or will with the upcoming mandatory vaccinations. Folks, this is an alien agenda to get your free will. They have to get your free will to allow them to put this basically a technology into you that will hive you into Lucifer's AI mind. It's truly like the Borg in Star Trek. Over to you, Drew.
Yeah, and so just the level of fear and the repeating that this woman did, you know. And I said two times, speaking to two different women. The first woman, when I mentioned the economy, and that if the economy crashes, that we're going to see we would see mass death. And she said, "What good is an economy if half of your family is dead?" Right? Okay. And I wanted to say, well, what about the family that survived? What about the family that survived? They're going to need an economy.
What was her point, though? Like,
No, she said, like, what good is an economy if half of your family is dead? So basically, she's saying that if she has a family, and she's an older woman, so her kids are probably grown up and out, right? So say this happened 15, 20 years ago, and has a son and a daughter and her husband, and then this happens, this, event 201, and two of her family members die from it. What she's saying is that she wants everyone else to suffer selfishly, okay? She wants everyone else to suffer with no economy now that half of her family's dead. So she's suffering, everyone else suffers and dies as well, even if they didn't die from the bioweapon virus.
Are you sure? Are you sure that's what her motive? It could be.
Oh, I'm thinking that for her to say, like, what good is an economy if half your family's dead? So she's not thinking of the big picture. She's thinking of herself. or she's thinking of an individual, the individual instead of collective. I'm not exactly sure exactly what she was thinking, but it's like, for me, if somebody said that to me, and I understand these things to a certain extent, because I understand what's going on, not in great detail. Like, I have my understanding to a certain extent. I know that they're lying. You have your understanding of a broader picture. You understand what I understand and more. But she doesn't understand. She's coming from a place of strictly fear. She's wearing a mask, which is detrimental to the health of people breathing in their own exhaust. And so the same thing with the woman today. I told her, I said, like in India, some of these other countries, as a result of as this thing happens and the lockdown, people not being able to work, people not being able to, okay. And these countries that depend on other countries for certain items. I said 10, 20, 30 million people will probably starve to death. And you know what she said to me? She said, just be glad that you're alive. So, right, she put it back on me, like, just be glad that you're alive. Okay, all right, I am, to a certain extent. And then I also want these people around the world to not starve to death. Who the hell wants to starve to death over something that did not need to be done? And obviously there's a bigger picture to it, but it did not need to be done. We didn't need. I mean, Sweden, right? Was it Sweden who didn't shut down their economy, and they just protected the people that had health issues. The kids still went to school. People still went to work. All that stuff, and they're fine to a certain, better off than everybody else. So it's just this. It's very, very hard for me to see what's happening. And even before this, when you try to, when things are calm, before a COVID 1984, or what I've renamed the Stroke Me 19 virus. Even before that, it's very, very hard to be able to find an individual or someone that you can even have a conversation with about, you could say uncomfortable topics, like who controls the world, and why we're in such a, globally we're in just chaos, constant war, constant there's children that are starving, children this, that, and the other thing, and it's like, why? I said, did you ever ask yourself why? You just want to be able to have a conversation with someone and try to find out if they have any substance whatsoever. And it's very, very hard to do. And now, when push is coming to shove, and you're seeing people react in ways that I guess you can understand that they are afraid, but at the same time, as you're walking, you see people, like walking on a trail today. You just see people, they see you. They're not, some of them are wearing masks, some of them are not. But they move to the other side of the trail, like they move away from you, like you're some kind of virus. And then I just said to myself, if you're wearing a mask, I'm not even going to acknowledge your existence. If you're not, I will say hello to you, and I will.
But you know, Drew, a lot of places have mandated masks. Like I went to Walmart today to get some mailing envelopes, and you can't get in unless you put on a mask.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I've done. I went into Costco and I put my bandana over my my nose, the bridge of my nose. But then when I got in there, I just let it slip down, And then I got through the whole place like 95% of the time I was in there. But then I ran into two, just
conscientious observers.
Yeah, they were like, "Put your mask on, please." And I was like, huh? I wanted to pretend that I was like deaf and dumb or something. Like, what? What? I don't understand. I can't hear you. Just to mess with them. But I didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you said. I went into Costco the other day, and one thing I've noticed is the prices have gone up like about a third. So, they started writing checks, free money, trillions and trillions of dollars for small business, and I'm glad they're helping small business, but to write that kind of money and many other things that I'm privy to on extravagant spending, the only reason that a government could do that is because it's becoming insolvent and is expecting a rebaseline in the future where it won't matter. So that's why they're spending money. But in the near term, the effects of trillions of dollars for COVID-19, by the way, that stands for Certificate of Vaccination, ID. The effect of it is massive inflation, and it's already happening. Like I said, my Costco bill was a third more than I expected. You go to a drive-through restaurant, Panera Bread, or wherever you'd like to go, the prices have already spiked up about 30%. And so we're already seeing that effect. Back to the global economy, you have to think about it like you don't normally quarantine the healthy. You quarantine the sick.
That's right.
Okay. So there's so many flags on this agenda that, where do you begin? Where do you begin? It certainly is a false flag. That doesn't mean things are all false. It just means it's a contrived plandemic, scamdemic, plandemic. You got to be smart. I have heard from some sources that they have included an alien component in the virus. Or whatever it is. I'm not even sure it's a virus. Yeah. Whatever it is.
I'm glad you brought that up as well, because I want to elaborate.
Yeah, I don't think it's a virus. But I do think it's something. But it's again, the fallen angel technology to destroy mankind. But anyway, to shut down a global economy. When the globalists themselves are these hook-nosed bankers, when you start affecting their source of money and usury, that's a big deal. And for them to go along with this on a global scale to shut down the economy, and they themselves would be losing out on millions and billions of dollars of revenue and sources of income. Yeah. If they're all going along with it, this is somebody in much higher authority, like the devil, like Lucifer, has given the order, move out. It is time to implement, as Trump calls it, warp speed, and bring on the forced inoculation of our alien tracking system.
I will absolutely say no, and they are not. And there's going to be a lot of pushback. So, I mean, I know people want to say forced, mandatory. I don't want to give them. I mean, for me, I don't want to give them any more power than they think that they have. So they're going to have a fight if they think that they're going to line people up and they're just going to walk up and be like, all right, here it goes. So I think what we're looking at is the fact that financially there's been a deficit of U.S. dollars around the globe. Okay, and I think that's why a lot of these countries are in lockstep, because in 2010, the Rockefeller Foundation put out one documents that looks like it's about their philanthropy and how their abundance and their richness, that they're going to share their thoughts and concerns, and what we would do in the event of of different things. But in this case, it was a global pandemic, and they sketched it out and they game planned it just like it was done at the World in New York City with Event 201, Bill and Melinda Gates, Johns Hopkins World Economic Forum. So I believe, and others believe, look at this, take it for whatever it's worth, that these countries are in lockstep because we already have world government. We really absolutely have world government already. It's not complete, but we have the world government because all these countries, France, Spain, Italy, all of these different countries are in lockstep with this. They're playing their role in making it look, and this is what I truly believe, and if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. But I believe that they are in lockstep. They were told, their governments, their leaders were told, this is what we're going to do, and this is what's going to happen, and you are going to do what we tell you to do. You are going to report that there are, apparently there's 30,000, 30,000 dead in Italy, and apparently 70,000. I mean, it jumped incredibly in the last 2 weeks. I thought it was somewhere around 20 or 25,000, and now it's 70,000. So with empty hospitals, and there was this hashtag on Twitter called Dancing Nurses. All you had to do was type in dancing nurses, and you would see these nurses in scrubs dancing like they had practiced it step by step, like choreography. Okay. You can't find that hashtag. If you type the hashtag in, it doesn't even come up anymore. Okay. So Twitter completely pulled it down so that people couldn't go and watch the dance. And now it's been out there for a while, and they pulled a lot of stuff off, obviously the Ike and things like that. But I believe these countries are in lockstep. They need U.S. dollars. So this is what they're doing. And even Russia is doing all of these things too, which kind of annoys me, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised that I kind of thought that, Russia was moving in a direction, and Putin still may be doing that. He may be moving in a direction of doing what is right, You
see, Drew, I hear this kind of.
I don't think they are.
I hear this kind of discussion, and you've heard me say before, at the top, they're all in it together.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Colonel SC has been at parties where representatives from all nations were there talking about a unified world government 30 years ago. The common theme to these conspiracy theories that we call them, of course, they're not theories, these conspiracies that are real, is that the aliens have been among us for decades, centuries, or even millennia, but a government cover-up enforced by, quote, men in black, has shielded the public from knowledge of a secret alien invasion motivated by speciesism and imperialism, that these aliens have been and are secretly manipulating developments and changes in human society in order to be more effectively controlled, so the human society can be more effectively controlled and exploited by the alien infiltrators. They have shape-shifted into human form, and most of our leaders, likely Putin and likely even Trump, are alien shape-shifted into human form, and they move freely throughout human society, even to the point of taking control of common positions in governmental, corporate, and religious institutions. These alien and the alien agenda is now in its final stages of their plan to take over the world, and a covert government agency of the United States was also involved with this, and that was codenamed Majestic 12. So anyway, that's what's happening. Of course, everybody's going along with it because we're in Bible prophecy. We're entering the sixth seal. The sixth seal is war, everybody. So I'll bring it back down to earth a little, Drew, and just ask you a question because you wonder that everybody, they've kind of let everything out on purpose, so I would add. Bill Gates has says he's going to force everybody to have a vaccine. And so everybody knows it, and they're all prepared to say no. Well, when people say no on a mass scale and they're being thrown into train cars, killed, or whatever happens, then the revolt gets a little bit out of hand because people are going to, they're still armed, and there's going to be fighting going on. And at that point, their agenda is not working. They have to roll in World War III is my point. The question is when? Right now, 6 months from now, a year from now? I think World War III may be the next trump card. What do you think?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I don't think it's off the table with all the talk back and forth with China. But I mean, this was a multinational thing. This was a multi-nation thing. China didn't, make this itself. I mean, word has it, if the stories and the information or the paper trail is correct, that Fauci gave Wuhan lab like $3.7 million to work on chimeric gain-of-function viruses when there was a moratorium in the U.S. for doing that. Somebody found out that it was going on. I'm not exactly sure. Certain things they can't really control because they put people out there, and it's weird. But I mean, I'm trying to make sense of a lot of it. And so when he funded Wuhan to do it, it was almost like, hey, we can't do it here. You guys are going to do it over there. And at some point we're going to release it. And of course there was the World Games of sort that were going on over there, where a lot of these nations had people over there, from different countries. They were over there doing something. And then, and it, weirdly enough, right, here we are. And if it is a virus, if it is a contagion of sorts, we know that the people over in China have incredible respiratory illness already. And then you add a regular flu season, right? People are going to drop. So I think it was a concerted effort. They're pushing, getting back to your war question. Yeah, they're going to, make it look like they're at odds with one another when they're really not. I mean, at least at the top, they know that they're not.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yep.
Right. At least at the top, they know they're not, but they will go to war and they will do things that they need to do to kill their own. Because they don't really give a shit about them. They don't care.
Think about this. Maybe this virus and the planned vaccinations are all part of World War III, because let's assume that the globalists have already decided. Well, China, you can have the United States geography, and Russia, you can have whatever you want, Alaska, whatever.
China. Red Dawn.
Yeah, Red Dawn. But think about it. And I don't think we're going to have a nuclear war like everybody's saying, because nuclear wars destroy geography for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah, you don't want to scorch the earth.
Yeah, so I don't think that's going to happen. Now, maybe they'll use EMPs. What I think is going to happen is they're going to this virus is to get everybody tracked and logged and controlled by the Luciferian AI as soon as possible, and then they're going to probably use famine and methods like that to depopulate the world without ever having to fire a shot. That's what I believe.
Yeah, that's definitely something that everybody that is looking at this, that's not Trump and Fauci and Gates and all these clone filth that they are. And Trump is garbage at this point. I'm allowing these things. He never was what I never thought that he was anything. I didn't vote, so it doesn't matter. Like you let me down. It's nothing like that. But I just feel bad for other people that think that he's, even now they think that he's still fighting for them. And so
no, it's all controlled opposition.
Largely, there's all this stuff going on out there now saying that, viruses don't exist the way that they have been, that we've been told. All right. And then there's other people out there saying that the body, what they pull out of the body is exosomes. The body creates these, coronavirus looking elements. And so I really truly believe, and this is just my speculation on this, and it really, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it's going to change anything. But I try to, I don't want to think about this stuff anymore, but I feel compelled to do it, and I'm talking with a friend, so that it's a good time. I believe that that this is just a regular flu season, and that people that have been injected in the past, if a lot of old people are dying, which is what they're saying, it's probably because they've been injected with something. And
or actually
just count 1, 2, 3 dead, binary. If you have something in there, boom, from like you get flu shots every year, you've already been seeded. And then something comes along, and then it's just binary. If a lot of older people are dying, people that have health issues and things like that.
Yeah, I heard today from someone reputable that many of the old folks in the nursing homes, they're on an average 20 medications. Drew, 20. I would argue one medication will probably kill you. I'm not on any medication, so these folks are being pharmacized to death.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and nobody brings that up. There's no dialogue on the fact that the people over in Wuhan were protesting the absolute horrific air quality, and this was going on for quite some time, right? So was it 5G that triggered these things? There's people out there that are saying that the times that we've had all of these different, sick, pandemics or epidemics, that there was some kind of electromagnetic, trigger to it. There are some that are saying that I had a conversation with Dr. Lorraine Day, who was like 4th stage cancer, and on her deathbed in 1995, and she's alive today at 83. And I heard her speaking with Eli, so I reached out to Eli on Skype, because we've been connected since Freedom Pal, and so I reached out to her and we had a conversation, and she was saying that she, obviously being 83, she's had quite a number of years to have conversations about different things, and she was an female orthopedic surgeon in San Francisco during the AIDS epidemic. And so the conversations that she had with older people that were alive during the Spanish flu, she told a story of a doctor, a dentist in one of the boroughs in New York City, and apparently a hot spot back then as it is today, or supposedly is today. And you would imagine, being a dentist, that he would know a lot of people, that he would have a connection to a lot of people, and they knew of no one who was sick or died from the Spanish flu. So we're talking 102 years ago, and what do you got back then? What do you have? William Randolph Hearst. I mean, who was the news back then? What were newspapers back then? How could you say that 50 million people died of the Spanish flu? So we're going on this narrative that this is what took place.
Are you suggesting that was a scamdemic too?
I'm suggesting that I do not believe that. I do not believe that, or maybe it's like I want that this not to be a thing, that they could actually create a virus and that they could do these things. I believe that they can inject people with things and simulate that there's an infection, and that, of course, germ theory in and of itself at this time is being questioned large scale. That germ theory is even real. That, and I thought, and I've been trying to put it together through all the conversations that I've had with a number of people over the last 6 weeks, that is it possible that if someone, and then they say, okay, well, what they believe that what caused the Spanish flu was in Kansas or whatever, they had someone, and this was Rockefeller was involved. Okay, those philanthropists that just love people enough and want to save them, right? They said that these servicemen were injected with something, and that was the trigger that caused this. Now, I believe that that's possibly a thing, where you can inject someone with something and then something can trigger, okay, because it's unnatural, right? It's something that's completely unnatural. It doesn't belong. It doesn't belong in the body. It just doesn't belong, okay? And if we're computers, right, is it possible that we could be injected with something? And I believe that our DNA, and David Icke brought this up in one of his books, in the beginning of one of his books, that the science says that 85% of our DNA is just junk DNA. It's just irrelevant. 15%, yeah, holds water and is important, and 85% is just irrelevant, garbage DNA, junk. Okay, I believe that the DNA is an antenna. I believe that it receives and it transmits information between our biological computers. What I was thinking is, one of us gets injected with something. Is it possible that because we're computers and we're linked together in ways that we don't even know or haven't even realized, that we can transfer this corrupted or corruption that's been injected into one of us to one of, someone else, wife, son, daughter. Okay. And then there's also some are saying that every year, because of just through absolute just nature, and what happens is our bodies go through a detox every year around the same time. and this is going to make sense from a financial marketing standpoint, that every year around the same time, supposedly cold or labeled cold and flu season, our bodies just go through some kind of general detox or something that aligns with the stars and the planets. And next thing you know, our cells start to just dump toxins into the bloodstream. And then as those toxins are dumped into the bloodstream, it's similar to what you may have heard before. And I know that you're involved in a lot of the supplement stuff and nutrition and all that stuff. You've got a great knowledge base on that. You've heard people say in the past where if you do like some kind of detox, whether it's some kind of like intestinal detox or some kind of like organ detox, that you might feel like because there's some kind of die off, that you might feel a little bit sick or under the weather. So this could be, when we get sick every year, it could be a natural process that takes place. And every time that we get jabbed with some kind of vaccine or take some kind of toxic drug for an extended period of time, our bodies lose the ability to be able to filter out this cellular detox. And because the vaccine, they know exactly what's in the vaccine, how it's going to affect the lymphatic system, how it's going to affect the proteins in your body, which are your immune system. Proteins are your immune system. Okay. These bodies are absolute miracles. There's no way evolution, I believe in, I used to believe that was the case, but now I believe that we are some kind of intelligent design beyond that. So largely, I think that our bodies do this. And if you're healthy enough, your body just gets rid of it, just, cleans it out, does what it's supposed to do. We live in a toxic environment. So some people are going to get sick worse when cold and flu season comes around. Okay. But these scumbags said, you look at germ theory and say, okay, they're probably all getting sick maybe because they have a germ. Or somebody said, we don't know why people are getting sick, but we can market and we can market the hell out of it, and then start giving people toxic drugs to lower fevers when you're not supposed to do that, and all of these different things that they do to fill us up with more toxins, so that our bodies don't do what they naturally do. Your body detoxes, gets into your blood. You start getting a fever, you start getting a headache, you start getting body aches and all these different things. And then the fever comes in. And I just, in February, like the second week, maybe midway through February, I don't even want to say, this bullcrap virus, but got a fever. Was able to move through it. And usually when I get sick, I mean, it takes about a week, maybe a week and a half before I'm feeling, and I don't know, maybe you can chime in on that. And, when you get sick or whatever, how long it takes you to kind of get over something. But,
couple weeks. Yep.
Couple weeks. Yeah. That's what it is. And I felt like, even after 2 weeks, I was like, I haven't really gotten this out of my system, but you know what? I know how to take care of myself. I know how to take care of myself. So,
I know this year I came down with something back in, maybe it was the same thing, back in December and January, that actually lasted about 4 to 6 weeks, but it was bad for about 2 weeks, but it lingered on and on and on. And I know a lot of people have told me the same thing. So yeah. I suspect it was one of these early things they've released. But, like you said earlier, every day I take coconut oil. Every day I take iodine. Every day I take natural vitamin C, protein, a whole bunch of other stuff. And then I try to get exercise. And if you're not on, and I'm on zero pharmaceutical drugs, zero. And if you do that, your body is designed, like you say, intelligently designed to deal with it. I mean, the Creator anticipated all these nefarious attacks by the enemy, and he made your body able to adapt. He didn't make your immune system one time fix all. He gave you the ability to adapt. And so part of the counter to try to defeat the human immune system is they try to mimic and hide so that the body doesn't even pick it up on the radar, so it's not even recorded.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things that, a lot of the people that I've spoken to that have done massive research on immunizations, vaccinations, that what happens is they actually, when you get injected, it actually turns your immune system off. Like they know exactly what to do to turn your immune system off so that you're sick, but you don't know it. And then, you find, then your body gets way toxic, and then you find out, you got some kind of, tumor or something like that. Okay. They know how to turn your immune system off. They know how to cut those and interfere with those communications that go on inside the biological computer, that it shuts off and it doesn't react. Okay. If it reacts right away, it starts doing its job. If it doesn't react quick enough, then, and maybe that's why. I mean, even though we've, I'm 50. So when we get sick, it's going to take, it might take 2 weeks for us to start feeling like normal again. You know what I mean? Whereas years ago, it might just take a week and you're done with it. I had a conversation with this guy. We were on his show, this Chuck Ocelli guy. And I was on a Monday night, and he was like, "Yeah, I think I'm kind of sick." I said, "Well, how you feel? We'll do the interview." So we did like an hour. And a week later, he had us on for 2 hours to talk about the financial aspect of this, and he was good. Yeah, I tell when I spoke to him that you can hear it in his voice that he wasn't 100%. And then a week later, he sounded fine. And this is a guy that he has his own network and he does his own shows and he's really good at what he does, but he's not like a real wealthy guy. So I don't think he's capable of eating super well or taking vitamins. I think largely these vitamins do help. I think they do help, but I think that if we're taking a lot of vitamins, that might, that might interfere with, I don't know, but he seemed to be good with it.
Well, it's back to man-made and God-made. Agree. Man-made vitamins are just chemicals, and they probably are not helping you very much at all, if at all. You have to get nature-made, eat salads every day, but you still can't get it all in that. So there are some good micronutrient type of vitamins, but primarily you want to get things in like whey protein is fantastic for getting some of the protein back. Some iodine. I take garlic. That has. But one thing I also take Chinese herbs. Now Chinese herbs like pine pollen is supercharged with all kinds of nature-made natural elements. Or I put sea salt, Himalayan pink rock salt or sea salt in my water, and that puts back 84 natural minerals in the way that God made them.
Right.
Doing a lot of ums here. I just noticed that.
You're right. Those are all really good things, like the Himalayan sea salt. It puts minerals into the water. You were talking about a specific brand, that pine pollen, and one of the UNR.
Well, I get my herbs from Lost Empire Herbs, LEH, Lost Empire Herbs. They're a little expensive, but they're really good, and I do recommend them. Man-made is a left-hand spin in the light field matrix, electromagnetic field of light, because really vitamins, the way they work in our body is they quantum entangle with your auric field, your light field. And as you said earlier, Drew, your DNA is a light frequency transceiver, but it's not just visible light, it's scalar light, which is outside time-space. It gets a little more complicated. But the natural minerals and natural vitamins are right-hand spin, and they can couple with your body and your light field of your auric system. And so when you get man-made, you have, it's like the best way to think about this, when you have a left-hand spin man-made vitamin and a right-hand spin auric field, it's like two opposite poles of a magnet. They're going to repel each other, and they're not going to couple. But if you have the right pole, north and a south pole of a magnet, they're going to pull right together because they're actually both spinning in the same direction.
Right. Yeah, I mean, when I go to my chiropractor, he also is trained in kinesiology. So like whatever I take, if I buy some kind of supplement, I will take it to him, and he will muscle test me for it, and he'll tell me right away whether it's in sync with me or if it's not. And so that's very good. And sometimes I can even do my own like muscle testing, with my fingers. There's a way that you can do muscle testing with your fingers. If you're holding something, like you put it into the crevice of your elbow, and then you can actually, if it weakens you, you'll be able to break the finger lock. If it's good for you, you won't be able to. So you can kind of feel in your strength whether whatever it is not good. And I've gotten pretty good at that because I'll try to do it and it looks like it doesn't test good, and then I take it to him and he's like, yeah, so I'm getting better at that so that I don't have to, like, I can try to do it and then have it work good. Like I can actually open it up, because I don't want to, like, if it's not going to work for me, I don't want to open it up and then have to take it back. If I take it back and it's still sealed, then they're like, oh, cool, we can resell it.
We have about 7 more minutes before it's an hour and a half to try to keep
Sure.
these bounded. What do you want to say to the people? I would suggest here, for example, that stuff that you've heard, chloroquine or something like that. Do you know
hydroxychloroquine?
Say that again.
Hydroxychloroquine. It's either chloroquine or chloroquinone or something.
Well, anyways, the active ingredient is chloride. That's the chlora in it, the chloride. I'm not, this is not medical advice, the standard disclaimer. But if you look up MMS, Mike Sam, MMS, and Jim Humble on the internet, he suggests for, quote, water purification, a very similar method that uses chlorine. So if you do get sick and you want to purify some water, read between the lines, and you can't get hydrochloroquine, then you could use MMS to purify your water.
Yeah, I know that you've had some teachings on that as well. My only concern is that the Cipro family, and I don't know. I know that Cipro is the brand name, but I'm not exactly sure what the.
Isn't that an antibiotic?
Well, antibiotic, right? And that's where because I know someone who had gotten years ago pneumonia, or had some kind of lung infection, and when she went to urgent care, they wound up giving her something called that was in the fluoroquinone family. And when I hear fluoroquinone, I think fluoride. Okay.
I didn't say flora.
I know you didn't. But what I'm saying is, when I hear the hydroxychloroquine, it makes me feel like it might be in, is that some kind of, is it the hydroxychloroquine? Is that an antibiotic?
No.
What is it?
I knew what it was right away because they said they use it for malaria. And Jim Humble with MMS, that one of the first places he used MMS was malaria victims in Africa and South America. So I knew that both of them were using, in a nutshell, your body immune system makes two primary elements, chlorine dioxide and hyperchlorous acid. Your body makes these two elements, chlorine dioxide and hyperchlorous acid. Both of them, the active component that makes your immune system so powerful is chlorine. And so when I heard that they were using hydroxychloroquine for malaria, I knew it was exactly the same thing as MMS, and the chlorine element is the key to it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering how it because they talk about this the COVID thing. They talk about the lung infection. Judy Mikovits has done so much research on this that she talks about this cytokine storm, and she talks about the reason why the cytokine storm happens, where the body just attacks itself. And it has something to do with some kind of manipulation. Like the reason why somebody would have a cytokine storm and not be able to and die from something, because this is not the first time that we've heard of this cytokine storm. There was they were talking about cytokine storms with SARS. They were talking about cytokine storms with H1N1. And usually your body's going to handle things the right way. If it's not handling, the body's not handling things the right way, it's most likely, what you said about these older people. They're not making it. They're getting sick. A lot of older people get the flu and they don't make it at their age, and it's because they're riddled with pharmaceutical drugs, not to mention vaccines. Because if they're in homes, if they're in these elder care facilities, they're getting shots. They probably send nurses in there to shoot them up, and they don't know any better, and they get it, right? I know a guy who's 82. Okay, that I would that I've gone to any number of different health seminars. I met him through a common friend of ours, and he, I've known him for probably, I want to say, about 4 or 5 years now, somewhere in there, and he gets sick from time to time, and he gets over it. His wife is ill as well, and why? And why does he get sick and she gets sick and then gets over it? Because once a year, the body detoxes, and, the immune system, the body reacts to take care of it. And because they're both trying, to the most part, to eat the right foods, not take, any kind of toxic drugs, because they're aware of this stuff at their advanced age. They're really awesome people, and they get over it. They get through the cold and flu seasons.
Were they at the event you and I go to?
Oh, no. I knew this man named Franco that I met back in 1999 or 2000, and I went into a health food store, and he was in there, and he was just like a wealth of knowledge. Really, really nice guy. Turned me on to a bunch of different remedies for silver. I didn't even know what silver was at that time. So weirdly enough, in 2014, somewhere in there, I was in the area, that same area, and I went back to that same health food store, and I walked in there, and there he was, little Italian guy, named Franco was his name.
Yeah,
And
I was just wondering.
Hey,
Yeah.
I said, hey, you're still here. I said, I was in here like 15 years ago, and you helped me out, and you're still here. And I said, that's great. And then he walked up to me about 5-10 minutes later and said, I remember you. And then we started talking about a bunch of stuff because I was still interested in nutrition. He was helping any number of people out. And then maybe within that year, he started having these health meetups. And people would come and say, "Oh, Franco helped me get rid of this. He helped me get rid of that." I had what is that when you're one of these diseases where your skin breaks out?
Psoriasis,
like shingles, yeah. And he gave them like these 3 or 4 things to use, and he said, "Put this topically." Take this internally and then put this topically on your skin. And then like within 3 or 4 days, this guy comes back in and says, I don't know what this did, but he said nothing that the doctors were doing helped me. And
yeah,
he said,
vitamin D and natural oils.
it was any number of different things. I can't even remember what they were at the time, but he just said he lifted up his shirt, he lifted up his sleeve, and the shingles were gone. He said, dude, I couldn't get rid of them. That's the blessing that Franco was. And he died.
Sorry to hear that.
He died last June.
We're all gonna make it. But anyway, we're kind of at the end of the show, Drew. So do you want to talk about any last items that are on your mind, and then we'll close out?
I want to punch Bill Gates in the face. I want to take Fauci and Gates, and I want to clunk their heads together like the Three Stooges did. And I just I don't know. I'm not so much, again, in fear. I'm just very, very angry that these things are taking place. I myself, and I'm sure you, like you and other people, I just want to be, just leave me alone. Just leave me the hell alone. I can take care of my own health. I can do all these things. As a matter of fact, I can help people because of what I know, like you do. And just if you're out there and you're listening at some point, you can take care of yourself. You don't need these. You don't need these people. And I'm sure like the people that are going to hear this are already kind of in the camp of understanding. But like just if anybody walks up to you and says we're in this together, try not to punch them in the face, because every time I hear all of these different things, it just infuriates me. Like I was saying to you the other day, like it makes me so angry to hear these people say we're in this together, and it's like you have no idea how badly you're being manipulated here. These people don't care about you. And I'm not in this with you. I'm not you, Professor Truth, but I'm not in this the world. If everybody out there who's afraid of the coronavirus thinks that that I'm in this together with you, no, I'm not. And I know you're not. Like you and me, we're in this together, right? Because we understand. And it's a good place to be. So
yeah, I understand what you're saying. I don't hold it against most people to be in this form of stupor, hypnotic trance, because really there is some evil, nefarious agendas and manipulations going on. There have been for forever, but they're culminating now in the end times. And think of it like this, because a lot of people are basic. We've all been traumatized. This is a trauma response we're seeing on a mass scale. Right. You talked about the economy earlier. For a lot of people, their lives are focused on their paycheck and the economy and their stocks and whatever else. And this downturn and this economic shutdown is traumatizing on a critical level. And so you're seeing in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you need food, water, shelter. And if the economic situation is being threatened, well, that threatens your food, water, and shelter. At the primal level, their needs are being threatened, and they're going into shutdown, lockdown. That's what we're seeing on these people. They don't know how to respond. They're in a trance. They're in a stupor. They're in a just kind of like a dazed and confused, like that song, Dazed and Confused. And I don't think it's going to get better because they're just bringing this on more and more. There's always survivors. There's always a remnant in God's kingdom, and there's always survivors in times like this. So that's what you want to be, folks. So stay focused, pray, repent, talk to Jesus Christ, your King, the creator of the universe, who is by law having to allow this to occur. In other words, Jesus didn't do this, but because the level of apostasy is so extreme on not only a national level, but a global scale, the law, the master of universal law, of divine law, he has to allow this to occur because we the people, have lowered our guard, lowered our spiritual guard. This is not a political or secular war. This is a spiritual war manifesting in the spiritual domain. And if people don't see that, they will never understand, and they will die, likely as if they never were. Hopefully, not even worse than that. So, Drew, a few last comments, and then we'll close out.
Yeah, I agree. I just what this year has brought on is the culmination of everything that we've talked about, the culmination of everything that you and I have spoken about when we meet in person and when we've talked in the past. Online on ground zero, and it really is. It's the culmination, and it looks like it's here. And hopefully, I hope that there's going to be points in time, or that they're going to take their foot off the pedal, and then we're going to be able to do some things. You know what I mean? We're going to be able to, get more, in tune with. Our Savior.
Well, I hope everybody does that. I do not, obviously this is a false flag, and similar to 9/11, afterwards there were many changes. Things never went back to the way they were in several cases. Same here. They're not going back to the way they were. Now, do I think they're going to go back to some level of normalcy? Personally, I do not, but I hope they do. You hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
I don't think that they have enough. I don't think that they have enough people to be able to do the things that they want to do. I don't think that they have enough people to be able to impose the things that they want to impose on them. And there's going to be blood. If they keep the pedal, they keep their foot on the pedal, there's going to be violence. And
well, there is, but who do you fight? Who do you fight? People are going to.
Well, it's going to bring people. Hopefully, it's going to bring people together to understand that this is not something. You know what I mean? Like they cannot make people do things that they don't want to do. And
yeah, but we got to get past that. We got to get past that, because what they're going to do, they're going to use famine to make people to do things they don't want to do. They're going to clamp down on the economy. They've already started holding back on meat production, dairy products. They're going to it's like a frog in a kettle. They're going to continue to throttle back on the distribution chain of food, and with an economic collapse, or they're heading to 2020 ID 2020 and the digital currency. So as we move inch by inch, week by week, month by month toward that, at some point you will not be able to buy or sell, even with money, cash money, but at some point, cash money will be useless also. And when we get beyond the here and now, and everybody still has food on the table for the most part. So you're talking about, Drew, people can intellectualize, discuss, come together, and they've already thought about this. They is an AI Luciferian controlled quantum computer. This is they. When people lose that fact, they start, and I'm not picking on you, Drew, but we all start to talk about, we're too many for them. And well, who is them? No, you're not. You're not too many for an AI system using quantum physics and quantum computers. You can't even scratch the surface to compete with something like that. It's thought of every permutation, combination, permeability. It's thought of every angle on this and has plans upon plans for
I'll pull the plug on that thing.
A Luciferian agenda. I don't want to sound dismal, but now here's the hope. Your thoughts. Now, even a lot of this is negative stuff we're bringing up tonight. When I get off the show, I don't think about this stuff. Your thoughts need to maintain a focus on a positive future, a positive tomorrow, a positive spiritual relationship with Jesus Christ. Your thoughts need to do that. And on an individual basis, God can preserve you and preserve your loved ones up until the point it's ready to pull the plug on everything. But you don't. If there's any hope of getting through this, it's scripting your individual timeline, because your thoughts, the Bible says, think on things above and not of this world. When we're getting tied up in all the things of this world and not on things above, well, your thoughts thinking of things of this world will make them manifest in your life. I can't emphasize. Yes, this DVD or TV series called The Promise said the same thing. Well, you know what? It had that part right. It just left out Jesus. You got to have Jesus in the equation too. But okay, Drew, anything else?
No, that'd be it, man. Thanks for having me on, and or thanks for being on my show.
Yeah, no problem. We'll do this again, as we have time to do it, but hopefully fairly regular. Everybody, this is Professor Truth with Drew. Just kind of chit-chat tonight on what's going on. We're in May now with this global shutdown. Keep your focus, people, on things above. Envision, or in your mind's eye, see yourself as joyful, having plenty, your children taken care of. Envision this stuff, and it will truly influence your future. So, okay, everybody, God bless. Until next time, we'll talk to you then.
Take care.